Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Tim, and welcome to Tim Talks, the show that's only partially a show, but really is just an excuse for me to hang out with my talented friends. And speaking of talented friends, I have another one here with me today. Yes, you, I mean you. The showrunner for RWBY and senior writer-director over at RT Animation, Kerry Shawcross.
Hey, how's it going, Tim?
I'm doing great, man. How about yourself?
It's good. It's a lovely Sunday afternoon. Thanks for taking weekend time to talk with me.
Oh, and, please. I could say that right back to you, man.
Hey.
I don't know if you happen to see, I did an episode with Miles just last week, which was a lot of fun. We talked a lot about the troubles in Texas. I hope that you were able to fare pretty well yourself.
Yeah. I lucked out. I was lucky and I didn't lose power during the snowpocalypse. So helped out some coworkers and friends and just kind of getting back to how did you fare?
Good. Good. Better than most, but we're mostly back to normal now. I think that officially qualifies us for a Texas podcast because we talked about the weather. So
done.
Good to go.
Yeah, we'll bring up Torchies and then we're done.
So I wanted to talk to you this week about, RWBY itself and the process of its creation. You coming in as what I'm going to guess was a rather large anime fan, getting to create a show like that has to be something of a dream, yeah?
Oh yeah. I mean, and way too young in my career. But yeah, I mean, it's I mean that's basically how a lot of it started. It was a bunch of us hanging out and talking about anime and kind of saying like, hey, we could make an anime. Let's try. And yeah, here we are.
So let's go back to the beginning of the story then. That's a nice little brief introduction. What was young Kerry like? What was young Kerry into that eventually drove him to be here?
Well, let's see. Always been a nerd. If you're talking young Kerry, yeah. I mean,
Shonen Jump fan?
What was that?
Shonen Jump fan?
Oh yeah. I Shonen Jump, and then I mean, really I think a lot of people's introduction, Toonami, Adult Swim, got me into Bleach, got me into Full Metal, Dragon Ball, Pokemon, if you want to count that, Yu-Gi-Oh,
the works.
When you're a kid, what felt like the cooler Pokemon for a few years.
I you know what? Listen, I'm a 34-year-old adult, and I still completely agree with that statement. So
I have this weird relationship with Pokemon where I loved it and I completely dipped out for a generation and I went to Yu-Gi-Oh, and I love Pokemon. Yu-Gi-Oh is pretty. It's just there's something darker about it. And it's just I don't know.
We were right at the perfect age. I think you're right. Yeah. I think you're my age. Right at 30.
I'm actually turned 30 this year. So
okay, we're the same group. We're right about the same time. We're like Pokemon when it came out as a video game in Red and Blue was. Exactly at the right age for us, where it captured everything you wanted at that time. But then the different generations came along, and I don't know if I didn't play the second and third generation.
It was the third generation was the one that I missed completely.
Right, and by that point, I had kind of transitioned into Yu-Gi-Oh because I was like, I had gotten into the card game. Magic was still a little bit too adult for me.
Yeah, we're not quite there yet.
Right. So that middle ground of Yu-Gi-Oh! Is like, oh no, the anime is kind of cool. It's got about the Shadow Realm and all this kind of. Have you seen the guy? He took out his eye and put in a gold eye. What? That thing's awesome.
Yeah. Otherwise, and then you go back to Pokemon. It's like, all right, Ash beat another gym without actually fighting. Cool.
And there's four gym leaders in the original anime.
Yu-Gi-Oh's always gonna have that spot in my heart. But no, I mean, I've always been a nerd. I feel weird talking about myself. I've always been a nerd. My brother worked in tech, so like I had a computer earlier than a lot of people did. Yeah. Got into Red versus Blue when I was really young. Just kind of like through my love of Halo.
Was it right at the beginning, or did you happen to catch it midstream?
It was still pretty early in. I think it was like in the first season. Was when I kind of found out about it. It wasn't until I think season 2 or 3 that I started kind of regularly watching it. I mean, from that moment on, one of my dreams is it'd be cool to work at this company. Yeah. As well as Bungie, for example. So when I try to figure out what to do for school, my kind of go-to, the thing that made sense for college was programming. So I was going to school doing that for a couple of years.
And now you're from Texas, correct?
From Texas, grew up in San Antonio. I've lived in San Antonio, Plano for a little bit, and then Austin here. So I mean,
so
Texas,
did college for you mean UT?
I immediately after high school, I was like, I want to, love my parents, nothing against them, but I just was like, I want to get out of my house. I want to get out of San Antonio. I want to live. So I had a friend who was moving to Plano. So I went there for community college for a couple of years. Well, that was the plan at least. And a year in, I got an internship at RoosterTeeth. And so I packed up everything. I moved to Austin.
So we're done with school for now.
Well, I for the next year, I tried to do both. I went to community college in Austin and worked at the company. And basically really quickly realized that I wasn't doing well at either.
Yeah.
And I kind of, my parents have always been super supportive. My dad was like, at that time he was like right at retirement, and he was like, Kerry, please go to school now because I can help you with it. I'm working. And I was like, I know, but I'm already like, I have a job that in the industry I want. And he's like, okay. So, them going to RTX, helped kind of seal the deal of being like, oh, okay, this is real, I guess.
Yes. I think that's exactly what RTX does for a lot of people who may not understand what video production is and the kind of following that can garner and the kind of job security that following can provide. Until you see it live and in person, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense why people would be watching random things on the internet. But then you see the volume at which they're watching, and it's like, no, this is something very legitimate. And I think you'd be able to call that as early on as like 2012, 2010, 11.
Yeah, I mean, that's about when it was. Yeah, I mean, like I started in 2010, and it would have been 2011, 2012 when I dropped out of college. So
I went back earlier today. I was looking at my old RT account. I have been a member since 2009.
Damn. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
And that's just a member of the site. That's not even like starting watching, and it's like, it's crazy to think how much of my life, your life, our lives have been consumed by this company in the best way,
Yeah. I mean, even if I hadn't actually ended up working here, I mean, watching the early DVDs of RWBY and listening to the commentary and like hearing Bernie and Matt and Jeff and Gus like talk about it, like that was what got me interested in this industry in the first place. So I mean, like even if I hadn't actually started working here, it definitely kind of like got me like 100%. Wanting to head in that direction,
I feel like it's one of those cases where the road of life always feels very curvy when you're walking it, and then you turn around and look behind you, and it's a very straight line to get you exactly where you are right now. There was kind of only one path that led you here, and it was falling in love with an anime at an early age, getting an opportunity, making friends, and eventually landing in a position where you had the preparedness when the opportunity came along, which most people call luck.
Yeah, I call luck. Yeah, I will. Because I think there's a lot can be done even if you're not prepared, or you think you're prepared and you weren't. So yeah, I'll call it luck. That's why it's I always I've gotten asked before. Kind of how did you get here, and especially in sometimes it's parents at cons asking for their kids, and I'm like I can't say that I necessarily recommend the thing that I did, but I also. You can't plan for what happened with me because I got super lucky. I'm a similar story. I was in graduate school trying to get a master's degree, and I got hired on as a stand-in in a movie, not even anything as lucrative as yours. But I abandoned school because it was the career path that was calling to me. And I knew that if I had stuck with where I was, I would not have been able to, I just felt I would not have been able to get as far. And I had to take the risk. And it's one of those things where, like, if you feel strongly enough about it, especially in a career path like ours, working in entertainment and production, sometimes you have to take that leap of faith and make it pay off. Like I've never had a B plan for my work life because even the thought of talking about a B plan, even the thought of coming up with the ability to think of a B plan, seems like already admitting failure. Yeah. And it's what's scary too. I mean, like you know, again, like talking with my parents, some are just people who are not as used to it. I mean, like, you know, we're committing to a gig economy, you know, I mean, like we're, you know, we are, you know, I've been fortunate that I've had steady work, but at any moment, you know, it could be, hey, you know, there's not a project right now, or, you know, that's just how this industry works. And you
just
kind of
like
have
any
to be
game
okay
studio
with that
out there as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, and this is how, you know, games, you know, movies, TV, animation, everything. It's all in this, like, you know, if you're doing well, you'll keep having work, and if you're not doing well, you won't. And if you're doing well, you still might not have work, and you know, it doesn't. Yeah. There's no real predictability to it, but you like doing it a lot, and you find the right connection, and you're able to kind of make a little path for yourself.
It's one of those businesses that definitely exemplifies, it's not who you know, it's not what you know, it's both.
I think that makes a lot of sense. I mean, I think it's undeniable that connections are a huge part of it, but I also...
if you don't have the skills to back it up, but if you're an asshole, that ain't going to help you very much. No, I mean, I've said before, not about any particular person, I'm not trying to throw shade to anybody, but you know, I would so much rather, and this might seem weird to say, but like, I would so much rather work with like somebody who is like pretty good at their job and also really great to work with than somebody who's amazing at their job and an asshole. Because, you know, and we'll talk about this more as we go into the process of like making a show like RWBY, which I imagine is very intensive, but you're inevitably spending 40 plus hours a week in a very enclosed space with these people. And especially during production times, during times when things ramp up, that number of hours can get very heinous with somebody that you don't necessarily want to be around all the time. So the more amenable you are, the better you are to work with, the more likely you are to get brought back for the next thing. I think it's just true. I mean, there's some people just have that ability to just be like, oh, cool. I like having you around. It's half the battle. It really is. You know, it's important. You work with these people a lot. I mean, like, there's something so incredibly, you know, personal about working on a creative thing. Even when you are working on the technical side, it's still, it's parts of you that you're putting into this, and you know, to not have support around you, it's like, just not gonna deal with that. Yeah. So then, speaking of having support around you, when you were first starting the show, what were some of the considerations that you had to take into mind when you were essentially creating something from nothing? Up until that point, RT had been a company that was, you know, only known for live action stuff in RWBY. And so now you're creating this show wholly from zero that is completely unrelated to any other property in line. So what was in your mind as you were going through that process? Well, you know, it obviously all started with Monty. You know, we told the story before. I mean, you know, he came to the office one day and he was just like, had a dream. It was, you know, 4 girls and they had 4 different colors, red, white, black, yellow. And they like fought monsters, and we're like, that's great. Go back to sleep. You seem tired. But cause I mean, he used to work like, always. He would do like 36 hours on, 24 hours off. It was just like the way he wanted to do it. I mean, I remember the stories of the Monty bot where he would just continue to go until he turned off, and then he would just turn off for a while, and then he'd come back and continue to go. Yeah, no, I mean, that was just, you know, he was able to like hang out with people. Like, he'd come in, hang out with people for a little bit. They would all go home. He could work overnight and not have anybody bother him. Then he'd say hi to them when they came in for the morning, and then take off, you know. And it, you know, it worked out. But you know, at first, I think it was a lot of us just, you know, having fun. We were, you know, RWBY 10. We kind of wanted to. You know, it was one of our bigger like CG endeavors, and we wanted to make it the best that we could, and we were working a lot on it. You know, so when you get delirious at 3 a.m. and you're, you know, we would start talking about this kind of stuff, and so I think in some ways it was. Well, it was all still work. Obviously, it was still like, I mean, it wasn't official. We weren't asked to do it yet, so it was this kind of like distraction as well from like, right. Well, you know, we're. You know, at the time I was doing compositing, which, you know, certainly not all of it by any means, but, you know, a lot of what I was doing, you know, was, you know, okay, let me get all the layers in the right order. And it was something that I could turn my brain off a little bit for. So then I would think about stuff, and we would just, you know, come up with like
crazy ideas and stuff. And then he, while we were doing that, he wrapped up animation and started making the Red trailer so that we could put it at the end of the last episode of 10. And then once we started seeing the response to that, we're like, okay, I guess we're definitely making a show now. All right.
Yeah. I was telling Miles last week that like that Red trailer was mind blowing. Like no one, I don't think anyone had even conceived of anything like that coming out of Rooster Teeth before this. And it completely blew everyone away, myself included. And still to this day, I can watch that trailer and roll a couple of tears because it's just so wonderful.
And that was a lot of, that was like 99% him in like 2, maybe 3 weeks. I mean, like he really like knocked it out, and it, all the while us talking about, okay, we'll kind of like, this is why this character, the Grimm are acting this way, and us starting to kind of like build the plot of it. I mean, like early in, I'd kind of done a pass of like what this, very early in, Monty had kind of come with, I'm trying to figure the best way to say this. He kind of like put out the idea that like he didn't want to have to deal with like the scripts as much, and he didn't want to have to deal with like some of like the nitty gritty stuff. He was like, okay, cool. We would talk about the big picture stuff, and then like at first myself and Miles would go off and like, okay, let's take everything we just talked about and turn that into an outline for the season or for an episode or whatever, or a fight. But we just kind of like kept going from there, and
honestly, that probably kept things a little bit more streamlined too.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those, I think it was better use of his time to be animating cool fight stuff, and it was because some of it was like nitty gritty, like, does the character have their weapon in the scene kind of stuff. It was just like, you don't need to deal with that. I'll take care of it. But yeah, I mean, it was, especially those early days, it was a lot of just, let's just hang out and come up with cool ideas and see what sticks or not,
Absolutely. So then as the show has now matured over the course of 8 seasons, a lot has changed when it comes to making the thing, just from literally the ground up, like changing programs used to make the thing, going from building to building. Last I checked in, we were in stage 5 and everyone was kind of conglomerated, but that is no longer the case anymore, correct?
No. I mean, we're, there's just been, so many people and kind of spread out. So, I mean, animation's in like a slightly different area, along with some other parts of the company. And, but I mean, even then, I mean, we've all been home now for pretty much a year now. So even that seems like a memory at this point of like regularly working at the office. And that's sad.
How are things working out, working remotely on a show like this?
It's fine. Yeah. Everybody,
obviously not preferred.
Yeah. I mean, we basically had, not to anybody's fault, but I mean, we had basically like no, I think this is true for a lot of people. It's like, we had no heads up really. It was just, I remember the weeks leading up to that, it was, people were like, oh, if you travel internationally, you might have to stay home for 2 weeks. Or I heard if you get on a flight at all, you'll have to, stay home for 2 weeks. And then it was, okay, coming up in the next month or so, we might be asking people to stay home for like a couple weeks just to like, really. And then it was like, hey, go home. We'll figure this out on Monday. Don't come back. Some of you take your computers, or some we'll get them later, but like, we're going to work from home for a while. And, Laura Yates, our producer, our lead producer, along with our tech team and really everybody, kind of quickly figured out, how we could get things at least operating, not well, but operating. And then, slowly as we've gotten, teams to get more and more efficient so that, we are still slower, but not anywhere near as bad as we were when it started. And, we figured out a lot of communication tools. There's a lot of things we still wish were better, and it'll never replace, just having people in a conference room together. But, we are very functional.
Or having access to a full motion capture studio. I mean, you guys have gotten to the point where that is very integral to what you do. And like I phrasing the question very carefully, have there been any drawbacks that have created unnecessary boundaries during this production season? Like, have there been any detriments? Things that you wanted to do that you can't now because of where we are.
Yes and no. Like, so for example, like we, after a little bit, we were able to like, work out a system with the, the company's like, safety team and figure out like, okay, how do we get one person in to do mocap? We can't do like a full scene like we used to, but okay, we can get one person in and have like the director and the, the animation director, unless they're actually even the ones in the suit, like there as well, like over video so they can help direct. Or, we can do, we've been doing some VO where like the actor, actress, and the engineer don't really have to like interact at all because it's, it's its own separate booth.
Absolutely.
So we've figured out ways to, still do some essential things. I mean, it's exactly what it sounds. It's do the essential things without putting anybody at risk, and certainly only if people are volunteering for it. We were able to. So far, we've been able to take everything in stride. I mean, we'll see kind of how that goes going into Volume 9,
right?
As well, because we're already working on that.
And then as it transitions back into the office, which hopefully, knock on wood, will be happening sometime within the next 6 months. Hopefully.
I mean, it's one of those things, like at this point, it's like, I'm just going to wait until it's official. But I mean, at the rate things are going, it certainly seems like it. And I miss it. I mean, I definitely hope that, silver lining, let's try and make something good out of something terrible. Or at least siphon all of the good we can out of something terrible. Like, I think that this proved to not even just our, industry, but like, yes, people can work from home. Mm-hmm. Yes, people can be just as efficient from home if they need to. So, I mean, like, I would love it personally if being in an office was no longer a requirement. I think, having the ability to, or even just,
especially saying, not every day.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing too. It's, I really hope a lot of these companies are going to switch to, hey, we've got pools of desks, rent one out. Hey, we've got a big meeting come up. Can everybody please make it? Or, I mean, the other thing too is, we're constantly dealing with the fact that, we work in animation in Austin. Mm-hmm. And there absolutely are people here and there's other companies here, but it is nowhere near as number of people as there are in, Georgia, LA, even New York to some degree. So, having it be less of a boundary of who, because there have been people that we found that are really talented that could, maybe come in and, be a lead and bring their experience, but we're asking them to pack up their entire lives, come to Austin for, they don't know if they're going to like it here. We don't know if everything's going to work out.
Right.
It's a risk, and it's sometimes it's hard to make it worth it. But, with this, it's, if none of us are in the office, then who cares where people are?
Exactly. And now that you have all the processes in place going forward, it becomes much easier to remote somebody in like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, I mean, obviously I would prefer if this never happened, but since it did, let's at least, use this as a learning experience and
100%. Be able to take away some freaking positives from the last year. Yeah. Please. No, I can completely understand. So getting out of the RWBY category, talking about some of the other things that you've done at RT, because I'm a fan of everything. I wanted to talk a little bit about the fan service podcast, and how that kind of ended up coming about, because that's I feel like the logical conclusion of Anime Nerd Kerry is now, okay, I have a show where I can just talk about it forever.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny how this works, but I guess it makes sense is that, so much of, I feel like so much of what I think what we all try to do, you kind of actually started this talk with this, is we're already sitting around talking about anime and laughing because we're friends. Why don't we just put mics in front of ourselves and share that with people if they want it, and make money off of it too, because it's like it's the same thing you said. It's like, these are just excuses to talk. It's like, well, okay, let's just do that. So,
and put ourselves on the most Pee-wee's Funhouse playset I've ever seen. Like, I loved that set so much. It was a so feast cool for the eyes.
It really was. It was so sad to see it go. I think that I don't know that it got fully taken down or anything like that. So it might still exist somewhere. It was so good. But It was always fun to do. Did not always get the best ratings, unfortunately. It was, I mean, it's I'm still happy with it because at the end of the day, it was one of those things where not as many people watched it, but the people that did really loved it.
Absolutely.
And I'll take that because it means that there were people that really liked something we did, and that's really cool.
Mm-hmm. So the small but dedicated fan base argument.
Yeah, I think it, I honestly like, I don't get sent stuff super often, but like the most stuff I ever got sent was for fan service. And it was always super nice, and it was always like these cool gifts. It's like there's just like some of the most thoughtful people.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, it didn't always pan out views wise, and now it's kind of morphed into I Have Notes, which is a little bit more of like a general podcast that we've been doing with just peeps all over Artianum and just the company, which has been cool. I think the only negative thing about fan service for us was just that sometimes it was kind of limiting to only talk about anime when maybe there was a cool American animation thing going on or a video game, and we used to just we would come with it's anime adjacent. Let's talk about this Final Fantasy game, but it's like now we just talk about anything. So a lot of the same heart is there.
No, that's completely fair. Taking off the chains whenever you get to do something like that is always nice. You hate to accidentally paint yourself in a corner, but sometimes it happens.
Yeah, it's sometimes you have to kind of start niche to stand out. And then you realize it's like, well, now I'm kind of stuck. But I love fan service.
Speaking of niche, one of the first things I actually got to see you in was the Simple Walk to Mordor way back when.
Yeah. That was an old one.
Yeah. Have you ever thought about going back to New Zealand?
Going back to New Zealand, yes, any day. Doing that again, I don't know.
At least not in that particular way, because that looked fucking rough.
It was not. It was fun. That was tough. Yeah, we didn't do any training for it. Our flight got messed up, so we had a day less than we planned. So I do not recommend doing it in 6 days because it was. I think we did the math a long time ago. It was like we walked a marathon a day. We walked 26 miles a day, and it was miserable and. Really discovered what chafing was during that, and
having to record stuff the whole time enough to make a cohesive product. Like
that was a thing.
Yeah, that's that. So getting now that I've done a lot more live video production, that's something that I understand more intimately than I think most people do. Is the fact that like when you're out doing this stuff, there's a lot of money that went into this thing, a lot of money, and if you don't come home with a product that's serviceable. Somebody's going to be mad. Yeah. Somebody's going to be mad, and somebody's head's going to roll, and it might be yours. And that's not a good feeling.
And I was not good at that. I think you've got that mindset. Chris had that mindset for sure. I was the one that was like, I'm tired. We've filmed stuff already. Let's just walk for a while. But, he and Nick did a good job of keeping the cameras on. And we had one day, like when we were getting towards the end, we were like, we are not going fast enough. Mm-hmm. And that was kind of, to that end. Because we're doing this on the fly. Like we had a plan obviously, but we didn't in terms of like the video, it was like, well, we're not going to plan this out, exactly what we're saying or stuff like that. Like we want this to be real. So we knew we were going to be going and stuff. So we just had this day where we decided like, let's lean into it and say like, hey, we're behind. We're not going to film as much today. So we'll check in with you at the end of the day. And we walked as fast as we could. And, when we checked in that night, we were miserable and it showed. Which I think was entertaining in its own right, but yeah, it definitely adds its own like weight to things.
Yeah, because you're shooting like half vlog, half travel show thing, and it's having to weave a narrative into being interesting and funny, and also into just making it from A to B. Like there's so much to worry about, and then keeping track of all of your equipment. God forbid you leave something back where you started that day that's necessary to record going forward. And you're out in the middle of New Zealand where buying supplies is not an option.
No, but buying anything was not really an option. Like we had like one time where we were like, oh, look, a gas station. Maybe we stop. I mean, that was it. There was nothing. And yeah, thankfully Nick was in much better shape than all of us, so he could like run ahead to get the shot looking back at us. Because during like the first like day or so, it was like, okay, maybe we'll walk that one little section one more time to get like a better shot.
Right.
By the second day, I was like, I'll walk slower for a little bit, and that way you can get ahead of me, and then I'll pick up the pace a little bit. I ain't doing that again. I want to get to the end. No, I ain't doing that.
I know that feeling so damn well. Yeah. Like this is a laugh of recognition.
I love live action stuff and I miss doing it. But it is hard.
Yeah,
it is hard, man.
Yeah.
I will say I lost 10 pounds doing that walk. So maybe that's a reason to do it.
Fair enough.
10 pounds in 6 days. That's healthy, right?
I mean, no, but it gets the job done. It's like the wrestlers who wear plastic bags over themselves to make weight. You know, is it healthy?
I had weight to lose. I mean, it wasn't, I wasn't skin and bones afterwards. So
fair enough.
I was very tan.
So now that we've talked about all the different aspects of production, what are some of your favorites? Like, what's the thing that like gets you the most jazzed about doing this?
Man, this is gonna sound really cheesy. Everything has pros and cons, right? Like, I think one of my favorite things about doing live action stuff is, there is this adrenaline and there is this like, okay, we're on set. We have, 6 hours to do this. Like we have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. Like I've always really loved the like, I guess it would be kind of like first AD stuff. You'll know better than me, but like of just being there and being like, what do you need? What can I do right this second? And sometimes it's like, let me get some water for the actors or actresses. And sometimes it's like, shoot, we took the camera off and it's heavier than they thought. Get some in here real quick. Like I love that kind of like just in the moment stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also really nice about animation is that, hey, we needed that thing done by 6 o'clock. I mean, if you can get it done by, before 10 in the morning, it's fine tomorrow. It's like there is a little bit of like that leeway.
Right.
And you're in air conditioning and you don't have to wake up at an ungodly hour every day. So it's like the cheesy thing I was going to say is that like through all the stuff I've done, the thing that's mattered most was, and we talked about this earlier, is like working with people that were fun to work with. I mean, that is what makes me want to come back is because you're going to have a good day and you're going to have a rough day no matter what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's working with people that are fun and interesting and nice that makes it worth it,
Do you have any favorite days? Like, has there ever been a performance that you've gotten from somebody on one particular day, or like a job that somebody did one day that like just stands out in your mind as, oh man, this is...
Oh man, I've buried so many years now.
Yeah, I can imagine so.
I mean, I think there, and this maybe goes back to some of the live action stuff, but I mean, there's definitely, working with the actresses and actors. I mean, like I can't think of one particular moment, but it's always that great feeling when, I'll give Lindsay a note when she's in the booth and she'll say like, yep, I was just thinking that. Or honestly, better yet is, we usually ask when we're doing takes, we'll say, give us a 3-pass. So give us, same line, but, kind of vary in the inflection, or if you want to mess with the intonation or where you pause, like that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I think one of the best feelings is they do 2. You're in your head, you're thinking, okay, those have been good. I want to try something. I want to try X. And then that third one, they just do it. And you're just like, cool. All right, well, that was it. And it's just like, that's how in sync we were. Like, that's perfect. So
it's funny how sometimes people, I've noticed this in voiceover a lot. When people think they're swinging for the fences, they're actually just giving the performance that you want.
Yeah. It's so often that like that third one is, I found, obviously not true for everybody, but I found that very often that first and that third one are the best one, because the first one is the one they weren't thinking about too much, and then the third one was where they were trying to push themselves, and then it entered like a new territory. And that second one, either sometimes that ends up being the best because then they did the first one and realized that it was super wrong and then got it right on the second one, or they overthought it and they tried something and didn't work. So it's the number of times we've had to say like, okay, hey, can you yell? And if they yelled and it's like, no, we need you to yell. Don't worry about the mic. Like, we've got 2 in there. You're fine. Or, like Alina's going to ride the volume. You're fine. take this as a cathartic experiment. Like, just scream your lungs out, please, and then it's great. So yeah, it's people are afraid to push sometimes.
Yeah. But once you are able to kind of get that's an actor thing. That's an actor thing, 100%, of like, well, let me not turn it up to 11, because if I turn it up to 11, I don't have any further to go. And it's like, no, you don't understand. That's exactly what I'm asking of you.
Right. Yeah. Because like the thing we don't have to talk about it very often is there is a 12. It's not on the dial, but that doesn't have to stop us. Yeah.
Right. Well, that's super cool, man. I love hearing about like the whole process of making things, and I love hearing the parts that get people the most excited. I think that's what brings out the joy for me of doing this show, is getting to know people on that level. So I appreciate you taking the time to kind of describe all that.
Yeah,
and I think this is the part of the show where we're going to go ahead and start segueing into our questionnaire, as we usually do. I have a reappropriated version of the Bruce Personality Questionnaire, and Kerry,
oh boy,
it goes a little something like this. What's your favorite word?
Oh man. Okay. Help me out real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Define favorite. My favorite to say, my favorite to hear.
I would say that the rules are yours to interpret as you want, because it's in that interpretation that we find your personality.
Mm.
So if you want to, start by defining your rules.
I'm going to say I'm a very food driven person, and I can't tell you the last time I saw the word cheese and didn't get excited.
Ooh,
so I think I'm going to have to say cheese.
I mean, the slogan is "Behold the power of cheese." It's very obvious. What's your least favorite word?
Oh, epitome. Because anytime I read it as epitome. And I have to Google what epitome is, and then I realize it's epitome, and I feel like an asshole.
Yep. Yeah. I have a habit that I've had pretty much my entire life of saying words phonetically in my brain.
Yep.
And then that reminds me of how to spell them. So I'll always be able to spell epitome.
Yeah.
But there are quite often times where I'll say epitome and not really 100%. Think about it, because why not? And people are like, wait, what did you? And then I realized, if I say things differently, people are actually going to key in to when I'm talking.
It's true.
So then you start using that on purpose, you know? Human brains are funny.
No, that's just my accent. Don't worry. It's like, well, okay. Yeah. No,
it's just a Sokovian greeting.
Yeah.
What sound or noise do you love?
That's a good question. Oh man, these are tough though. I would say, oh geez, I like a lot. And if this is not good enough for the test or whatever it is, but at least lately, the sound of like when you dock the Switch controllers.
Ooh, yeah, I love that snap. That is very satisfying.
It's good. It's a good sound. They know what they're doing.
I agree. What sound or noise do you hate?
Oh man, the default iPhone alarm.
Yeah.
It's very triggering. If I hear it in a commercial or something, I'm immediately on edge. I'm a snoozer.
Is that the chime? I'm trying to think of which one is the default.
No, well,
I guess mine is sonar. I've had mine set as sonar for years.
Oh yeah, I think it might be like now. I think radar is the default.
Okay.
Let me set it 1 second. Hang on. Hang on. Oh, I messed this up, Tim. I messed it up.
It's okay. Everybody's watching with bated breath.
Does that pick up at all?
I think Discord's cutting it out, but it might pick up on your...
Well, nobody needs to hear it because I don't want to trigger them. iPhone alarms are terrible.
Yeah.
And they should be abolished from commercials.
What hero or heroine do you identify with the most?
Oof. I might... There's who I want to identify with the most.
Mm-hmm.
I this is very much a wishful thing, but at least certainly from like recent things, I'd say Iron Man. Again, very wishful thinking there. But yeah,
I understand. Tony Stark has been such a wonderful character, especially over the last 10 years. Who wouldn't want to be?
Yeah, I mean, like watching the first Iron Man was another thing that was like, oh, I want to learn how to program and make stuff like that and make my own AI.
Wait,
and that kind of stuff.
After Effects can do that too?
Dude,
oh my God.
Yeah.
What villain?
Ooh, that I identify with. Oh man.
That you're like, oh yeah, that's me.
Oh man. Oh, that's tough. I'm trying to think of. I know this happens to you. Like anytime somebody, when I have to think about something like this, I can only think of like the last like 2 things I've watched, and like my brain won't.
That happens to me too.
Let's see.
The etch a sketch of your mind just goes. Yeah. Think now.
What I'll say Plankton from SpongeBob, because I feel like deep down he just wants to have friends.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he takes it too far, but he just wants friends.
All he has is Karen, and she's his only love. And no, I get it.
Yeah.
What would be your superpower?
I would love the ability to like stop time. Mm-hmm. Even like, if nothing else, just because like I like being able to just be like, okay, let me take a second to think on this or something. Yeah.
What would be your super weakness?
Ooh, cheese. No. I would probably end up in the I don't know like how to summarize this, but the kind of they would figure out who like my loved ones are or something like that, like the Dark Knight kind of situation. I guess loved ones.
Yeah,
would be my weakness. I don't know. Yeah,
your weakness are the connections that you share.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good way to put it. Yeah,
that's very sweet. What's your idea of pure happiness? I would say it's not having to do anything. Still doing things, not being lazy and just moping around, but not having to do anything. I understand. Yeah. What is your idea of total misery?
Having to do things. I would say not being heard. Like or just being stuck where you're like you don't feel like anybody's hearing you out, and you can't really do anything about it.
I understand. What would you be if not yourself?
Like an inanimate object or something?
Anything. Anyone? Anything?
Yeah. I'll go out there with it. I would love to be like a robot or like AI or something. Like being able to. I mean, I've had I have ADHD, so it's like I already feel like I kind of like think about too many things at once. So being able to like actually do that,
right,
would be nice. So yeah, I'll say like a cool AI.
Yeah, let's condense multi-thread thinking into quantum thinking.
Yeah,
and
let's just make it worse.
Yeah. Jesus Christ. Yeah. You know what I think about a lot? I think about a lot the fact that if I had more hours in a day, I wouldn't use it for rest and relaxation and the things that I actually need it for. I would just fill it with more work.
Yeah.
So I feel like if I made myself more efficient, I would just end up spinning faster and finding that next wall. That's
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you're in a similar boat. It's like even my hobbies are kind of like work related or things that require work. I mean, like I enjoy doing like model kits and stuff like that, but like my current hobbies are like learning how to program video games again and stuff like that. It's like it's a hobby, but it's like that's work too. Like what are you doing?
It's a hobby that leads to work is what. Yeah. No, you're exactly right.
But
Kerry, what are you afraid of?
Oh, man. I am afraid of people not telling me how they feel about me.
Very deep answer.
Like having an issue with me or something and not telling me about it.
Yeah, that's completely fair. What is your favorite curse word?
Ooh. It's funny. I almost threw in damn or fuck as my favorite word. I mean, I feel like fuck is pretty universal. There's just so many situations for it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, let's say fuck.
I agree.
I say a lot. Yeah.
Take a moment. Picture your dream home.
Okay.
Where are you right now?
Minecraft.
Ooh, I like it. Surrounded by voxels.
I am. I think I'm somewhere. I'm somewhere with a lot of trees.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe it's like a forest in like the Northwest, or even Japan. That would be great. But I do still have good internet. We're talking dream home.
Yeah,
here.
no, that is very important, as it turns out, especially this day and age. Did you hear we just got access
I finally got fiber and I can't go back now.
Do you hear I think we're getting access to 2 gigabit fiber before too long.
What?
Mm-hmm.
What? I don't even know what to do with my 1 gig.
I know. I have no idea what I'm going to do with 2 gigabytes of upload speed. What?
I'm just going to download all of my games again or something. I know.
And then re-upload them. Anyway.
Yeah.
Last question here before we get on out of here.
Sure.
If you had a choice, how long would it take you to respawn after you died?
I think I would want to. I would say maybe like 150 years. Like I think it's a big risk. I feel like to say like 1,000 years, because I mean, who knows what could happen, and it could be like super cool future shit, but it'd also be, you know, the Dark Ages again. I mean, I have no idea. I feel like 150 years is enough where it's like I could maybe, you know, do the movie thing where it's like I go to where my, you know, great granddaughter is working and you know, wave, and you know, they don't know who I am, but you know, like I would still know how to live, but I would be able to play like, you know, Mind VR instead of like, you know, have the goggles on and stuff.
And who knows,
you know?
by that point, they might actually be able to upload you into a robot, and CareBot would just live on forever from that point.
And then I could see what's happening in 1,000 years. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It would just be revenge of the Termicaries. Oh my God. I think we just made a new movie there. Anyway. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think this is a great place for us to round off the show. I want to thank my guest, Kerry. What do people need to look for from you right now?
Thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, we're actively working on RWBY. Season's airing right now, and Volume 9 sometime in the future. We'll have updates for that soon. You know, besides that, the I Have Notes podcast. We're live every Tuesday, and I'll stream sometimes too. Been a little busy lately, but gonna get back to that soon. But yeah, you can.
Is that twitch.tv/Kerry Shawcross?
Yeah, I'm at Kerry Shawcross on Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, pretty much everything. So
gotta love that unified branding.
Dude, it took a minute, but it was nice once I got there.
I'd imagine so.
Yeah.
Well,
thank you so much, man. It was great.
Dude, it was my pleasure, and I'm so glad that you had fun too. And I hope that you all at home enjoyed watching it here on youtube.com/timandanswers. We'll be back here hopefully soon with another awesome guest. Thank you so much for watching.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.